Hello everybody, it's Canon from Draft Studios here. I'm here with a video about my favorite lens, the Canon 24mm f2.8 lens. If you guys have watched our videos in the past, you know that we did a review on the 50mm 1.8 lens, and this is kind of its counterpart except a little bit wider, so 24 instead of 50. And today I'm going to be talking about the build quality of the lens. I'll be going through a few things that I like and dislike about how it's built and the parts they use and kind of its size. And then I'll also be going through some photo examples and video examples for you guys to see this lens in use and the pros and cons of the lens. I'm really excited to get started, so let's jump right into the video. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is build quality. So first, the boring stuff. So this lens measures 2.75 by 1.27 inches. It weighs 4.2 ounces, so it's not too heavy, and its size is pretty small. In terms of build quality, as you can see on the bottom, there's a metal ring to connect the lens to the body, which is nice. The focusing ring is not connected. It's electronic, but it's still very stable, and I actually enjoy it a lot. The lens itself does extend while focusing. The front part will come out when you're focusing in and out, but that's not really a problem. This lens has 7 aperture blades, but that doesn't really matter because at 2.8 you aren't going to really get much bokeh in the background regardless. One thing nice about this lens, it has a STM focus motor, which means that when you take a video, the focusing will not be very loud at all. Finally, this lens is not weather sealed, which is not a surprise at this price point, and the filtering is 52mm. So here you can see it compared against the 50mm 1.8 lens, which is my old favorite lens. And as you can see, the 50mm is already very small, but the 24mm is like ridiculously small. The cap on the end is almost as large as the lens itself. What this means is because it's so small, you can actually carry this lens wherever you go. This lens is a type of lens that you always have on hand because you can just slip it into your pocket and not have to worry about putting it in a backpack or a bag. And finally, one more thing that I want you guys to notice is that the actual lens part itself is very, very small. If you look at the 50mm lens, the glass piece on the front is much larger than the 24mm glass piece. Now in reality, this feature doesn't really matter, but it's still something that you guys should be aware of. Okay, so here we are in Lightroom. I took a few sample photos with the 24mm last night, and here they are, just kind of showcasing all the different aspects of the lens, and they're very good because I didn't really go far. These are all just like right in my neighborhood. So let's start out with, let's go with this one. So these are all JPEG, so they aren't RAW, and I think this will provide the best kind of insight into the features of this lens. So let's take a look here. So if you zoom in all the way, you can see this lens is actually like decently sharp. On the borders, there's not much fringing, really. The colors are nice. So there is some bokeh, but it's not really like the round bokeh that you normally see. It's more just kind of like out of focus background, which is fine because it's a very wide lens, so you aren't really going to get much in terms of bokeh with this, even though it is at 2.8. And this is wide open right now, so this is not the lens at its sharpest. So let's go here. So these were some examples I took to show you guys the chromatic aberration. So there's a little bit here, you can kind of see it, but it's pretty good. Actually, for this lens being this cheap, there's not much chromatic aberration or fringing on the sides. And this is like wide too. This is at 2.8. Here's another photo. So as you can see, the edges here are pretty wide. So these aren't full res photos too. As you can see on the top, it's 3984 by 2656, which is like, I think, like half resolution that my camera can take. It's pretty good. Let's keep going, see some more examples. So here's some examples of detail. These were shot at 1/125th of a second. And there's the focus part. And it's a little bit blurry. That's completely wide open. Let's keep going. Here's some stones. Got these at 1/200th of a second. And a lot of the time too, what I seem to forget a lot when taking photos is that I'm very prone to like blur and shakiness. My hands are not very still at all. And I have the tendency to get blur in a lot of my shots. So that's why, as you can see, it wouldn't be as sharp here. And contributing to this non-sharpness too is the lack of full resolution. Let's keep going. colors, as you can see, are pretty true to life. There's some more sharpness. Yeah, pretty sharp. Let's get to the fun part. So I took all these photos. They're all in the same spot with varying f-stop ratios, so that you can see how the lens does. So there's a little bit of distortion on the edge and a little bit of blurring. The sharpness gets like less sharp out here compared to the center, but that's expected. But as you stop down, the edges definitely get a lot sharper. So this is f13, not shaking there. So 1/50th of a second. But here at f8, it's a lot sharper than like here at f4.0. So that's pretty much it for the photo wise. So this lens is like, it's very sharp. I'm always surprised how clean my photos come out with this, considering how cheap this lens is. And you can get some really good photos with this, and it's a great lens when you need a prime, when you're shooting on the streets or in a very enclosed location where you can't really get far away enough to be able to use a 50 on a crop sensor. The 24 on a crop sensor is about like 38 millimeters on a full frame. So it's like right in the sweet spot of like where you want to be in terms of being able to capture the whole scene and not just the subject. Compared to a 50, which is equivalent to like, I think like a 70 on crop sensor cameras, which will get you a lot closer in, but you'll lose a lot of your surrounding detail and such. Another cool part of this lens is it's almost a macro lens. You can get really, really close with this, as you saw in a few of these shots. And you can get like right up next to your subject and still get it in focus, which is nice. So that's it for the photo part. Let's go into the video aspects of this lens. So video-wise, this lens, as you can see, is very sharp. I actually shoot the majority of my videos using this prime because the 2.8 is enough to get the blurred background and be able to isolate my face from the busyness of the background. And if you get close, as you can see here, you can actually get very close with this lens, which is cool. As I was saying in the photo section, it's almost like a macro lens, which is always nice. And because of the STM motor, my mic won't be picking up the noise from the focusing. For all the shots where I'm talking to the camera, I prefer using this lens over my 18-135 just because it's a lot faster. So when I shoot indoors, I don't have to pump up the ISO a lot. I can keep it a lot lower. And this lens, as I was saying before, can get that blurred background. So this lens would be my choice for vlogging because at 24, you can get your whole face in with the frame. Unlike a 50, you can get that blurred background with the 2.8. It's a lot faster than having a zoom lens. And it's also very small, as I was saying before, and you can carry it wherever you go, really. The 18-135, by contrast, is like this long, and it's like probably 5 or 6 times longer than this 24mm pancake. So that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys check out our other videos here on Draft Studios, and I will see you next time. Have a great day.